approval of the agenda.
Make a motion, we approve the agenda.
Second?
It's moved and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passes. Next item is the consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda. I second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passes. Is there anybody here from the public that would like to speak to something that's not on the agenda? All right. First item is special reports and presentations from the NPO.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Paul Hornbeck with the Lawrence Douglas County Metropolitan Planning Organization. We wanted to give you just a quick overview of who we are, what we do, and why that matters to you all. Jessica Mortinger is the manager of the MPO. She's out sick tonight, so I'm here in her place. So MPOs are federally required for any area with over 50,000 people as defined by the Census Bureau. So for us, that means Douglas County. So we do transportation planning for all of Douglas County. We're housed at the City of Lawrence, but obviously we do work for countywide. So we work with Douglas County, Lawrence, Lecompton, Baldwin City, Eudora. It's a small staff, just Jessica and I, so we have our hands on a lot of different things, and a lot of what we do is really partnering with the local communities, with KDOT and our other partners that we work with. One of the main things we do is develop a long-range regional transportation plan, and that serves to help guide transportation decision-making and activities. We are required to also have a short-range transportation program known as the TIP, Transportation Improvement Program. And it is required to have all projects that have federal funding associated with them, or any project that's regionally significant. So some local examples of projects that have received federal funds are things like the Maple Leaf Trail, some of the sidewalk projects like along Elm Street, and some of the other sidewalk projects you have in the works. We are governed by a policy board, so that is made up of two Lawrence City Commissioners, one Douglas County Commissioner, two Lawrence Douglas County Planning Commissioners, one being appointed by Douglas County, one by Lawrence. And then for Baldwin City, Eudora, and Lecompton, we rotate on a yearly basis. And in 2023, it is your turn to have a member as one of our voting members. We also have non-voting members, and you're always welcome in that role. And KDOT is the last voting member. Some of the work we've done locally that you may or may not be familiar with. There's a Safe Routes to School plan for Douglas County. It includes a chapter on Baldwin City, on identifying some of the sidewalk gaps that are needed, especially on routes to schools. There's a countywide bike plan, again, has a chapter specific to Baldwin, and countywide pedestrian plan that again has that Baldwin specific chapter. So that's kind of a quick overview of what we do. Happy to answer any questions. Otherwise, thanks for having me.
I have one question. So, I guess I wasn't aware that the voting members rotate. How come just each community wouldn't get at least one consistent voting member position on there?
That's a good question. I'm not entirely sure. I think it's largely kind of based on the idea of population centered around that. I can look into that, talk to Jessica, and get back with you on
This
that.
year, I mean, I know we've put in a lot of effort into our sidewalks, and I think we're on track, hopefully next year, to be completed with our Safe Routes to School program under, I believe that was completed by MPO at that time, so I don't know of another community that's been as involved in trying to meet that goal in Douglas County as Baldwin has, so I was just curious.
Right.
why.
Yeah, I don't have that background.
Okay.
Can look into it for you.
That's the only question.
And I guess one last point, hopefully you all, we're looking for a representative for 2023 from Baldwin City, so hopefully that's on your radar, or Glenn's radar of something that you'll be doing in the near future to have a voting member from Baldwin.
Yeah, I think we have that on our agenda, upcoming agendas.
Excellent.
Coming up for the, to appoint, don't we do those in April for MPO? Is that when your guys' board switches over?
It switches over first of the year.
First of the year, so we need to put that on the next agenda.
Yeah, our next meeting is, well, we won't have a February meeting, so March or April.
Okay, so, we'll put that on the next agenda.
Great. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Next item is old business substation. Jeff, is got an update for us?
I don't have a whole lot of new information. I had Emmer load some stuff onto the council packet that Mike Schmatter sent from Mid-States. Just some layout of the building, layout of the switchgear. Basically, I just had Mike and Sharon Schmatter from Mid-States group of KMEA. Maybe he can answer some questions you guys might have. I didn't put the quotes or whatever, not the quotes, but the estimates on, but they're on last meeting's council packet. If we need to reference them, we can pull that up again. Mike Schmatter.
Maybe I should start by giving a little history. We owned a small electrical firm called Mid-States Energy Works from 2000 to 2020. Prior to that, it was called Mid-States Armature Works. It's been in business since 1954. We do work primarily for municipals, power plants, and substations. Specifically, KMEA purchased us in 2020, 2.5 years ago, and with the idea that we would be there available to their member cities to do services for them. And that's how we got here today. We've been, since they purchased us 2.5 years ago, we've been 100% exclusively working for municipal electric systems. That's our one and only chore.
Now, is this, and Julie, maybe you can answer this, I'm not sure. Where do we sit on, I guess, getting a contract or getting a formal quote, or where does this process sit?
Well,
we've seen an estimate, but.
Yeah, we put together an estimate as a service to our member cities. We provide our services, we'll provide you an estimate. We do bill only costs, so there's not, we don't put together quotes. We act more as a general contractor. We do the engineering, we'll do the general contracting. On that estimate, which was what, 2.8 million, somewhere in that range. The transformer, I got a price back in October, it was 1.3 million. It may have slid a little bit since then, but I think prices are finally leveling out a little bit. The switchgear was around 400,000. The point is that 60–70% of that is going to be in 3 items that we would go out and get pricing from at least 3 vendors.
I think one of the questions that came up, if I recall correctly, was how your other estimates in your other projects similar to this? How closely?
Jeff told me that would probably come up. On our bigger projects that we've done, we did a $2.5 million substation for the city of Anthony. It's 138,000 volts to 25,000 volts. And then we did 115 to 12 kV for the city of Mountain Ridge. Both of those Anthony came in right on budget. The Mountain Ridge actually came in quite a bit under budget. Some of them haven't. This last year with the price escalations we've missed a few of them, primarily due to the escalation of material costs.
By what percentage roughly, on average, do you think if they went over, that they were over?
I don't think anything was over 20% over. Probably more like 10. but ties with the escalation of materials. Hopefully that has leveled off now, but
So do you guys do a cost plus contract, or is it just a cost contract?
any of that labor that we put into it, we have a rate schedule that I provided to Jeff. Material, we mark up 10%.
So it's a cost plus 10% essentially.
Yeah, with the exception that if anything, we cap that on any one particular piece of material at 15,000. So if you buy a $1.3 million transformer, we don't mark it up 10%, that'd be 130,000. It'd be capped at 15.
Okay.
We would even provide you the option to purchase that transformer directly and save that money.
Okay.
But we're not in it for profit, we're purely here to provide services to our member cities. Since they purchased this in 2000, our workload has just exploded. I'm just amazed at how much the cities have asked us to do. And we've had really good luck come with our.
That's all the questions I can recall from last council meeting, if anybody else.
I would add one thing to that. We not only design it and build it, we're also in the product, we also help the cities maintain it, and we're the people they call in the middle of the night, so we try to make things to where their parts are easy to get and they're easy to maintain.
How long have you been warranty for?
We would extend any of the workmanship for a year, any of the material would be whatever the manufacturers. Typically, when we go purchase a transformer, that cost will last for a 5-year warranty. They usually come with a 1-year warranty and a digital extra for the 5 years, but that price I got back in October included a 5-year warranty. And we don't gold plate things, we build them like we would if we were doing it for ourselves.
I think one of the questions that we had last time was whether we need to open up bids for this or not to other contractors or other.
Yeah, Glenn, did you get an answer?
Did I talked to her about, because you do not have to do that. What he's proposing is a design, build model rather than a design bid build. But you can do it either way in the state of Kansas. There's no requirement that you would have to bid or anything. That's completely up to whatever city either way they want to pursue it.
I think only a class 1 city has to do that.
Yeah, okay, but not a, we're class 3 city, so,
Yeah.
yeah, there's no legal requirement.
I never liked the way that sounds, you're class.
Well, sorry, yeah, it's
I
not
don't
a
like the way
judgment,
that
that's
sounds.
just a classification
Yeah,
based on
right.
population.
There are state codes and stuff that you have to, guidelines you have to follow, is that correct?
There are electrical codes we'd have to follow.
That's one
Yeah, we would make sure we do all that. I am a licensed engineer. So fully aware of what the codes need to be.
So essentially what you're looking from the council tonight, I would assume, is a vote to give authority to enter into a contract or to draw up a contract to be brought back to?
I think you guys have signed a master services agreement with us.
Correct, yeah.
We
I think
we
did.
would put a task order together that basically describes the project and our estimate and the scope of what we need to do, which we could do before your next council meeting if you want to act on it then.
So that'd just be something that the council would probably give more of a directive to go ahead and have that drawn up for review.
I could even go back to the vendors and that I asked for some budgetary numbers and make sure those numbers are still good. Because October's, 4 months ago, if you'd like.
I'm sure prices came down in that time.
I don't know if they've come down, hopefully they've leveled off a little bit. Jeff and I were talking, we just like a 15 kV breaker. 5 years ago, we could buy it for $16,000. I've seen them as high as 26. The last bid we got was right around 22, so yeah, that has actually come down a little bit. But it hasn't come down a lot. I understand that some of the push for the electric vehicles is using up some of the material that transformer manufacturers make, and it's created some of the delays and cost escalation.
That's our fault, we bought a Tesla.
That may be just,
That
that may be just the transformer manufacturer claiming.
I meant we in the council.
Oh, I thought
Yeah.
you were. Well, that's different. It was us.
It's awesome.
Any other questions from the council? All right, thanks, sir.
So
Thank you.
I'll put you together a task order, get it to you, and I'll,
Yeah, I think I'll call for a vote from the council on that, but I want to take public comment.
Okay. All right.
So, here shortly, hopefully,
All right.
we'll get a vote for you.
all right.
So, thank you so much.
You bet.
Yeah, thank you.
Anybody else from the public like to speak to this agenda item? All right, council discussion?
Well, I think if we're gonna move forward at all, then we should get that
I agree.
estimate from him, an updated estimate.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I agree.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think there's any reason to stall any longer
Right.
on
Nope.
this.
No, we need to move forward on it.
So, do we have a motion to go ahead and ask them to provide a written up, formal written up estimate for council consideration next meeting?
Yes, I moved to do that.
I'll second to do that.
It's been moved and seconded, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passes. So we'll just look for that next meeting. We'll-
When is your next meeting?
2 weeks from tonight.
Okay.
All right, next agenda item, KMA Board of Directors seat. So this is, I believe, our council member seat that
It is,
Is-
right.
due up this year. Julie has been serving in that role. So we just need to go ahead and elect and approve a council member to continue to serve in that role.
I'll make a motion that Julie continue to serve in that position.
Second.
I don't remember how long of a term
I
that is.
think it's a year, right, Glenn? Is it annually? Or is it?
No, it's usually about a 3-year term. Is
Oh,
what
it's a
the deal
3-year term.
is, yeah.
So,
Maybe we should have gotten Julie's input before we.
Yeah, I was waiting on that before I made a motion.
Yeah, it's not yearly.
We have a motion and second, so we kind of have to vote
Yeah.
Yes.
one way or the other.
What do you want me to do, Julie?
It's not it's not a 3-year term, is it?
Yeah,
Have you
Believe
done
it
it
is,
3 years,
yeah.
Julie?
yeah, I
thought it was a
think, I
I
think,
think
Yeah.
I think
yeah,
Julie
first
started-
year,
yeah, pretty much right
I
away.
thought it was a year.
No, they don't have any year terms on there. They're, yeah, they don't want that either. They're typically 3-year terms.
So that's the downside of having a council member on there, is that when their term's about up.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you have somebody else on the utility committee
Yeah.
who could step forward.
So anyways, on this motion and second,
I withdraw my
You can
motion.
withdraw it.
I withdraw my motion.
And
The
even after
attorney
it's
shakes his
been,
head, yeah.
even after it's been seconded?
You can make a motion to withdraw it now and second
Yeah, that's what
it.
I
Okay.
said, that's what I said, you
Yeah,
can
that's what you
withdraw.
gotta do.
So you can't withdraw it once it's been seconded, but you can then make a second motion.
Prior to the
withdraw it
vote.
Prior to the vote, and for further discussion. So that would be, my suggestion is that you do that if you want to withdraw the motion, to make a motion to withdraw it, and then I'll ask for a second, and then vote on that to allow it to withdraw.
You can't make another motion because you got a motion.
Yeah.
Or just vote on it.
You have to vote.
Okay.
Vote against,
Vote on-
vote against Julie.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Wait.
To-
You gotta, we do over.
This is-
Uh,
So the
Okay,
motion-
let's try it
the motion
again.
on the floor right now is
Vote.
whether or not you, is the
It's
first
for
motion that
Julie.
we don't, apparently you want to withdraw. Simplest way to do it is to just vote it down and
You
start
want
again.
to vote
Okay.
on the motion
Let's
that I
vote on the
made.
motion.
Right.
That I
The
made.
make a
original
comment.
motion that Julie serves in that seat.
All in
All in favor,
favor, say.
say aye. All opposed, nay.
Nay.
All right, there
Okay,
you go.
motion fails, 4-0.
We're off the hook, Julie.
Now, we're back to the agenda item.
Okay, I move that we put Jerry as the new member for KMEA.
Second.
Been moved and seconded, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thanks a lot.
Is that an aye or a nay?
Yeah, what choice do I have?
Motion passes 4-0.
3-1.
It's gonna be railroaded.
All right, next item on the agenda is.
So hold on a minute, now you got me here, let's find out what I gotta do.
I-
What's it called
nothing.
for?
It's, you're just your figurehead. And
I'm a
do it.
speakerhead.
Yeah.
I
You
can
you
talk,
can
but
be
I
the-
don't know if I can talk about that or not.
You can be the speaker of that board member for yourself.
No, I'm not. She can go ahead and do that, and I'll take her credit for it. We'll make it work.
Anyways. Next item on the agenda is annexation for Swisher.
Good evening, council members. Tonight on the agenda, we've got a annexation for a parcel you'll see in your packet. It's on East High Street, just east of First Street. It is a 4.14 acre parcel. The individual that has purchased this, there was a structure on there that has since been torn down. Is
Burned
planning,
down.
do what?
Burned down.
Burned down, torn down, and burned down.
Yeah.
I was trying to be nice about it, but, so, he's looking at building a house on this parcel, and he's wanting to get it annexed into the city. Currently, it has, city water, and it will have city electric when it's
How many
constructed.
acres is it?
I'm sorry,
How many acres is it?
4.14 acres.
Septic, I'm guessing.
Yes. There's,
There is a sewer there, is there not?
the
There's no sewer there.
The sewer is running through here,
Ah, so.
is the closest sewer, and then the sewer comes to here, right there. So it's greater than 200 feet away,
And it's over 3 acres.
and it is over 3 acres, so they could put a septic system on that.
It's over 3 acres and they have pressured water lines, which is what's required for that.
Does anybody have any questions? I know this is an ordinance in the past on some of the annexations, we've voted on it that first time. Is there anything any questions I could answer on this particular parcel, or?
This is just the first reading.
But they've already got,
Yeah, but
they've already installed an underground heating
They have
system,
the
haven't
building
they?
permit already.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said, Jerry.
They've already installed an underground heating system, haven't they? What do you call that?
Geothermal?
Thermal. They've already put in thermal heat, haven't they?
I'm not
I know
100%.
they was up there boring for it.
I don't know that for a fact. I'm not for sure.
I'll make a motion, we accept it into the city.
Been moved, is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded, Jared,
Right.
Susan,
Aye.
Corey,
Aye.
Julie,
Aye.
motion passes 4-0.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is building lease agreements. So we had the Master Gardeners reach out to Glenn, and I'll let Glenn kind of give some background on there. I put this on the agenda this way because we approved for a lease to be, we approved a lease offer essentially, to another individual who never signed the prior lease. So technically, if we want to go back to our ordinance and re-advertise it to be available, then we need to withdraw that offer, because right now we kind of have an open offer. Glenn, can you expand on that?
Yeah, well, as you may remember, this is actually the third go-around. The first one, we had a lease agreement there with Lord Trojan. That didn't work out mainly because the building doesn't have water or sewer to that, and we found that out. So it didn't work for her purposes. Then we had an offer from the railroad guys there to do that. They were gonna sell tickets and whatever else out of there during their winter season here when they were running the trains, but that didn't work out either. We sent them, the council authorized a lease agreement, which is basically the same we were offering Lori, and they never acted on it. So that was back, I think in October, November, when they came and did their presentation. Remember that, and right after that we sent the lease. So I never heard from them again. So, and I don't know what's going on with that whole situation. So we're kind of back square one, and then the gardeners approached me yesterday. As you remember, prior to all this happening, they were storing their tools in that location there after the Chamber of Commerce moved out of there, it's about 8 years ago now, 8 or 9 years ago. They were storing their tools in there even before then. They were there with the chamber. And right now, they're storing their tools at the chamber office across the street, if you know where that's at, and they're in the back. So they asked about coming back, and I said, well, you know, we've had two leases on this that haven't worked out, so that's the backstory. And they want to present, and they have written notes on what they want to talk about here. So that's how we got here tonight. So right now, yes, I think the mayor's right. We have to withdraw the offer that was given to the train folks before we move forward with anybody else. And you just have to take that step legally, I think, because they never followed through on their end.
Can we do that? Can we withdraw it after we gave it to them without a written consent from them to do so?
Well, we only made an offer.
Yeah, we made the offer. They never
Accept that
accepted it. So
Have we heard anything from them?
no, never, no.
Dakota, can you correct me on that?
So if they fail to act on the offer at this point, you can withdraw the offer at any point. So as long as now you can let it sit there and say it's expired, because there's no, I think, term on that offer. You have to look at the actual language
But
of the
I don't
contract.
think we put it,
No.
except by.
But you're always able to, if you've made an offer and it hasn't been accepted, you can always withdraw that offer. Unless you've given them a certain set time to respond. There's none, so you'd be well within your rights to withdraw that offer and move forward without having to get any response from the other party.
Okay, the lady that took it the first time, that was with the city, whatever it was, that put in a little restaurant, she took it and signed a contract, did she not?
Did she sign a contract or did she deny it?
She signed the contract and then she came before council and
Yes.
withdrew.
Did she really?
Right,
Yes.
yeah.
And we-
she
and
came
we
back
didn't,
and
we
said,
didn't
"I'm
hold her
sure
to any
you-"
term or anything,
Yeah.
Right.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
She did come from us.
Right.
Okay.
So that's how we got to the second one, and we haven't heard anything from them, so.
And so the garden club wants it?
Yeah.
Correct, that's why they're here tonight. They have a couple of
Are
representatives.
you gonna get up and speak to us? You all look kinda cute sitting back there.
Here? Any,
Yeah.
yes, please come up. I have a lot of words.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Council. Okay, some of this
So-
will be a little bit of repeat from what Mr. Rodden was saying, and then it will be just kind of the highlights of what you've received in your packet. I'm Marilyn Harnish, and this is Helen Grettinger. We're both representing Master Gardeners, and so I'm going to just kind of share with you the information that we want to share with you. We do represent the Master Gardeners that care for and maintain the Tom Swan Garden. And the garden at Tom Swan Park at 8th and High is one of 5 demonstration gardens in Douglas County and is recognized nationwide. It is true, the garden does not bring in any revenue to Baldwin City. It is all volunteer workers. And it's because of the volunteer workers that funds for plants, equipment and tools, and funds that are funded through the Extension Service. Also, we work closely with the city that provides mulch, water, tree trimming, and bush removal. So for the past 9 years, there have been over 2,716 volunteer hours. Volunteers are master gardeners from the community here in Baldwin, from outside the city limits, some from Lawrence, and some community members who share their time and their expertise. It is believed that Swan Park contributes to the Baldwin City by being a demonstration garden and is recognized as a place to stroll through, to have lunch at the gazebo, to have short business meetings, and to have organized tours. All the while this does contribute to the community because there's shopping, there's purchasing, there's living, there's eating, and there's traveling in from other places. That definitely adds to the community revenue. The volunteers work year-round to maintain the garden, and they work with other groups in the city to purchase local plants and supplies, and to support city activities such as the Lumberyard Art Center, the library, Barbecue on the Bricks, Maple Leaf, and previously the Polar Express and the Gnome Project. All the while sharing their love with Baldwin City, and also contributing monetary dollars to activities and businesses. For several years, Master Gardeners, we really appreciated using the building there because it gave us easy access to the tools and the equipment that we need pretty much on a daily basis. We were in the building, we did use half of it, about 5 feet by 10 feet, and it gave us access to care and maintain the garden, to be available to work on the water system when needed, to carry out any cleanup after community activities or vandalism, and to contribute to the beauty of the community. And as Mr. Rodman explained, last summer, because of proposals, we did move our tools and equipment across the street to the Chamber of Commerce. And in the meantime, then, we've been searching for some kind of storage that we could put our tools in. And because of the size of the park and the garden, pretty much the only space that would be available would be about a 4 by 8 feet place. And to date, we haven't found anything that would work in the garden and accommodate the tools that we need to have there. So, because of what Tom Swan Park does contribute to the community, we are asking to be considered to use the building behind the fountain at 8th and High. This would give convenient access and safe storage for our tools and equipment so the garden can be continued to be cared for and maintained on a daily basis. So thank you for listening, and thank you for your consideration. I'm going to have Helen come up, and so if you have any questions, why, hopefully both of us can answer them. So, questions?
So, you mentioned, and Glenn brought this to me, what we talked yesterday, Glenn, a little bit about this, I believe is, and Glenn and I kind of were just throwing out ideas on how we can make this work and make it work for everybody, and still potentially get another business downtown and different things, and still support you guys. If we put another shed, storage shed behind there, I thought Glenn, you might have mentioned that there was a space behind that building that we could add a storage shed for your guys' tools that would be sufficient for you? Is that?
We did, and we also talked about that yesterday when they came to that. It's pretty tight back there, so it would have to be pretty small, but I mean, anything's possible, I guess, but yeah, I don't know, you guys want to share your thoughts on?
Yeah, I'd like to hear.
Yeah.
What,
We've been working with, going to Arrowhead Hardware and looking at what they have. They do have some new mini barns. Actually, it's a chicken coop, and without the runner. And size-wise, it might work, but roof-wise, it might not. And then maybe if we adapted a part of it, it might work. That's the closest we have found, and size-wise, it would be probably okay. But just whether it would work for drainage and all the other things.
So what about, this just came to my mind, we have that, the bathroom facilities at the Sullivan Square, and we have that pretty large room on the northeast corner that houses that's where our equipment room is, and that pretty
Yeah,
substantial.
it's kind of a storage room there.
Yeah, it's just a storage room. We really don't have anything in there. Is that too far
Is
off?
that where they keep stuff that they use for plays or such as that?
Nothing's really kept in that. I think the
Mhm.
play is lumberyard.
And you're strictly talking about the little garden. What about the little building that's there in Penn?
But that's what we're talking about, is still trying to utilize that if we got another proposal, because by ordinance, we gotta open it back up to all proposals. So I'm trying to, I'm getting ahead of myself, trying to work out a solution that works for everybody while accommodating everybody as best we can. So that's what I'm.
So we couldn't lease it to the garden club for $1 a year.
We can do that. But I'm talking through other scenarios that may still allow something to go into that building, because, and correct me if I'm wrong, you guys don't utilize the whole building anyhow. You just utilize a small part of that building.
Right.
Correct. So I'm just trying to think through every different type of scenario, because once we open this back up, I mean, we had 20 proposals last time, I mean, that came through. So I'm just trying to talk through everything. Because we can't give anything tonight, we haven't.
Wouldn't you mind leasing for $1 a lease?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Why would it need to be opened back up? Is that procedures, bylaws?
An ordinance we have
Okay.
requires that when we have property available, we have to advertise it for 10 days.
Okay, because we're doing a proposal based on the other proposals from before, so.
Correct, yes, yeah, that's what our ordinance
Okay.
states, so to stick within that ordinance,
Okay,
that would be the proper way to do it.
thank you.
I believe it's 10 days.
Our concern now is where we keep it at the chamber. We really don't feel comfortable going in there, like, if we had to go in on a weekend and
I
when
don't-
nobody's there.
Yeah,
It's
I don't
not
disagree,
ideal.
I
It's
don't
not
disagree with you
Right.
guys, it is not ideal,
No.
being across the street there, that's why I was
Yeah.
trying to throw out other ideas, just in case, you know, to try.
Definitely our preference would be on the ground of where the garden is.
Okay,
That would be our preference.
okay.
However this comes out, I want to put in my 2 cents worth. I think that garden is a very, very nice garden. And I have gone in there and sat down just amongst the trees and everything. You people are doing a fantastic job with that little area. It's great, and I'm glad it's there.
Thank you.
And thank you for doing that.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Yeah, thank
It
you.
is- it is
We
very
love
good.
being there. We love working there.
Now, Glenn, I know we just got the mold remediated in that building.
I can name that 2 in one note.
Yeah, we did. The guys who did the Bauer building came over one morning and they looked at that. They essentially did that for free, since they were doing the building here. They were already mobilized, they came over. That was a short job, so, but we do have to get the water away from the building. That's what's causing the mold to build up in there, so. We plan on doing that, as well as however this turns out. That we will still have to, because it makes no sense to remediate the mold if it's gonna come back.
Yeah.
They don't want, then it makes that building uninhabitable anyway, for anybody.
The roof's good on it?
Yeah, the roof's good, yeah, it was just, the water was coming in because of the way everything drains there toward that building, so we need to get the water away, or put some kind of a drain that will handle that water that's being shed toward that building. So, but everything else structurally, the building's fine, it really
You're
is.
gonna have water there as long as you water the plants.
Yeah, so, yeah, anyway.
Any other questions for the master gardeners?
Thank you for your
Thank you.
time. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Anybody else from the public like to speak to this agenda item? Not, I'll open it up for council discussion.
No, I think we're all probably in the same place, that they definitely needed an alternate storage situation, but we also got excited that that was gonna be something, for economic boost to downtown. And
Right.
it's kind of like, going back to storage again, it's kind of a deflator a little bit, but, if we can find some kind of solution for their storage and keep that open for maybe something creative.
Yeah, I think that's best case scenario,
Yeah.
and solve both these problems.
So,
So if we put a shed back there, would that be, the city would do it, provide it for them?
Correct, yeah, we wouldn't charge them for
Right.
it, we
That
would
would,
just provide something.
that would be
that would be
the ideal
great.
situation.
Yeah.
Could we not add on a 4x8's not that much. Could we not?
Can I throw this out there? I immediately thought if you were to do like a lean-to greenhouse or something right there as well, and keep that kind of a garden themed, but just have it like a part of that is like a lean-to where you can store stuff in there as well. That's kind of where my mind jumped to.
On the backside of it?
Yeah,
Mhm. Except it would need to be enclosed.
it would be.
Yeah, but he's saying it looks like a greenhouse, but it's a storage.
Oh,
Yeah, it's just
So
more,
just
it's more of a
kind of-
framed-in greenhouse instead
Kind
of a
of
flimsy plastic.
accentuates the gardening feel
Yeah.
with the greenhouse look. But
That would be good.
I know Rob's not here tonight, but I'm sure he's listening.
Call us.
But I would like to see, I personally would like to see Rob put together, because our staff has the abilities to do something like that, especially that small. They're very good at it. I don't want to put more on their plates either, but I wouldn't mind seeing what the cost would be of adding a 4x8 section on the backside that looks like a greenhouse. I think that's a good idea for their storage. And then that still leaves open the option of that front part of the building.
Whatever you come up with, I think is a great idea. I wonder how many older gentlemen out there would be willing to build them a deal that like the plants and like gardening as well, or have gardens out on South Town. I'm not trying to start anything here, but if we
I think
furnish,
that'd be a great conversation starter at your coffee tomorrow
if
morning.
we, them fools ain't gonna do nothing. All they're gonna do is sit there and talk about the same thing they started on Monday and ended on Friday and start a brand new conversation again on Monday. They're not gonna do anything, but if the city furnished the lumber and there was somebody to build it, I don't know how you're gonna handle it, but I wanna see it done, one way or another.
You can, some kind of design drawn up maybe, or they work with maybe Rob, if Rob's got room on his plate for it. And kind of maybe go up with some maybe design ideas of what maybe we can.
Hey, Rob, if you're listening, this will teach you not to miss a council meeting. Fair warning to all department directors out there.
We work with Rob and Rob works with us.
Yeah, Rob's great.
So, we can do that.
But yeah, if we could maybe have you guys reach out to Rob and Glenn, if you want to kind of coordinate that and just have them put together something that, see what we could.
We'll come up with one solution, one way or the other. Everybody will work on it, so.
So, but it doesn't take away the fact of this outstanding,
It's still, yeah, it's still
Right.
Yeah,
there.
Yeah.
you're right, the house is still available, so.
so we need to, if you guys want Glenn or somebody to reach out to the railroad first to see if they're still interested, if you want to rescind, I mean, this is.
If you hadn't contacted us,
I think we need to reach out to the railroad and see if they're still interested in it.
if you hadn't
They may
contacted
just-
us,
We did that right before the snow globe hit, and it may just fall off their radar, I don't know.
when snow blows over with, it's gonna
Right.
be sunshine now.
You're right.
That is, I mean, that will be a council decision, so, yeah.
I'm fine with that. I'm
Julie,
So what you're
Jerry,
fine with,
reaching out to them to see if they're okay with us rescinding it, or if they wanted to move forward.
You know what I always thought would be cool with that building, if they end up not wanting to do anything with it? That's an old filling station. It's an old gas station. I thought,
it's a restaurant when I came here.
well, but back when it first opened, it was there was a car dealership there, and then it was a filling station.
It was-
Yeah, and so kind of going on with that theme, if we ever wanted to do, bring charging stations for EVs to
Yeah.
town, that might be a cool place to do that, and kind of keep with that theme of refilling your car, but this time with
Right.
electricity. I don't know.
It's sit there by the
New
first
era.
roundabout in the state
Yeah.
of Kansas.
Railroad buildings.
An EV charging station in a like 120-year-old
Gas
gas station, pretty cool.
It also has solar panels on, those are.
Oh,
those
man.
Solar panels. So
Now you're making a statement. Now you're just rubbing it in.
Yeah, I know. So you convert it from the gas station to solar panel EV charging station.
There you go.
There you go, all the way, so
Just a thought.
everything comes full circle.
I'd like to know what the percentage of production on those solar panels are.
Probably not real great, but we could. put
Enough
new
to
ones
fight
on-
off the mold.
We could put new ones on there.
I wonder if the oil tanks are still in the ground.
Probably. They're probably seaming it over and a water fountain put over top of it.
When it was the first roundabout in the state of Kansas. with the
Actually,
first
it wouldn't have
roundabout.
had, it wouldn't have had tanks. That was when they had
No,
the
they
glass
hadn't been up
tops.
in the air.
Yeah.
And you'd have had a gas pump like this. You'd had.
Okay, so is the, just so I'm clear, is the council's will to have Glenn reach out to the railroad to verify that they're not going to accept a lease? Continue working with the Gardner Club to put on an addition or see what we can do on the backside of that for their storage? Is that kind of the route?
I'm for seeing what you can do on the backside of the storage if they can't have a building. But I'm not, if the rest of you want to reach out to the railroad, that's fine. The railroad hasn't reached back with us, so I'm gonna worry about it.
No, I think what Corey's indicating is just a goodwill gesture because of the likeliness of them still wanting the building, I feel like is fairly slim because we haven't heard back from them in 3 months. But probably would be a
The
good.
railroad, has the railroad just sold again in the last 2 weeks?
Not that I'm aware of.
Did it sell again, Glenn?
Not that I know about, no.
Jeff?
Haven't heard anything.
I heard it sold again.
Haven't heard any of that.
Well, come down and sit on my porch, you hear all kinds of things.
I'm sure, Jerry, but
Some of them are true, some are not.
yeah, majority or not. All right, so that's what we'll do. Glenn, you clear on
I'm gonna
everything?
kill your
Right,
animals
so.
for being mean.
Uh,
Could be.
I'm sorry, Glenn.
Clear as we can be,
Okay.
yes, I think we got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
You guys good?
Yeah.
We're very good. Thank
Okay.
you very much.
No
We
problem.
appreciate
We'll,
it.
we'll get, we will get something figured out.
Okay,
Because
thank you.
it can't be convenient walking across the street like that.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, girls.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you,
thank
It looks great.
Set up a meeting with Terry Lyle.
All right, next item on the agenda is resolution for moderate income housing program. This is the same grant we've put in over the last 2 times. Glenn, you can kind of hit on your meetings that you've had on this with the state and all that fun stuff.
Right, yeah, we applied for this grant. It's coming up every quarter now. This would be a yearly thing, but now it's every quarter because they've got money, apparently federal money to get through here. So they're doing 4 rounds a year now. We applied back in the fall. We did not get funded for a lot of reasons. We did have a recap meeting with Housing Resources. So it sounds like the folks at the EDC here, the Economic Development folks, want to do another application for another project. So what we have to do is we have to do another resolution that supports that. They won't let us use last year, so it's clear in the application process that you gotta do a new resolution for every project that you do. So we may be ready. The deadline, I think, is the 17th, so it's coming up pretty quick. We may be ready, may not, but if we're gonna make an application, we have to do the resolution this meeting because the next meeting is after the deadline. So that's the reason why it's on the agenda here. So I'm not sure we're gonna have a project ready or not, but if we do and we're ready to go and we make an application, this will support it.
Essentially what I've heard from Glenn is that what the state's really looking for is projects that involve RID, but also involve multifamily housing. And so that's gonna take some sort of building somebody's willing to do.
Yeah, their high priority is to match this program with RID, which of course we've established 2 of those housing districts now just in the past year. So that's a good thing for us. The thing that may hurt us is that we still have a grant open from the Tenants to Homeowners grant that we did a couple of years ago. And that's still open because they had a problem with getting funding for sewer line there, they were short on funding there, but they did get funded this last round. Our application did not get funded, theirs did, so they're working on that. So we have a grant open right now, so, and that usually counts against you, so. But, you learn more every time you apply for one of these things, to be honest with you, so.
Any questions for Glenn? I doubt anybody in the public has any comments. Council discussion? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
What do you want to hear?
To approve the resolution for affordable housing grant application.
I move we approve the resolution.
Are you asking for a
affordable
motion?
housing grant application.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded twice. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Jerry? Aye. Motion passes 4-0. All right, next, council committee reports, budget and finance, Corey.
Yeah, so we met this past Friday, hold on there. Two items on it, do you have yours pulled up?
I don't.
Mine's not loading. Oh, thank you.
It's in the council.
Yeah, yeah, this is what I'm trying to pull up. It's
Well,
not-
that's what I was just.
Yeah, so the first agenda item was the utility rate ordinance. Reviewed the bill format, rate change proposal that would raise the residential consumer monthly base rate from $12 to $23.01, increase of the base rate, and then rename the bond fee and reduce the kilowatt hour charge from, there it comes up, jeez, 0.1154 cent, so 11.5 cents basically to 10 cents per kilowatt hour. It's estimated these changes would result in a $50,000 less revenue in the electric fund, so obviously some stuff to talk through there. The 2022 kilowatt hour usage level, that's the one that would be affected based on 2022. More evaluation obviously on the impact to individual accounts based on annual usage is needed. Kind of to Glenn's point, we brought it up last time, the impact of, okay, well, your base rate's gonna basically double, and then when your base rate doubles and you're low, you don't use many kilowatt hours per month, then you would be possibly more adversely affected than the big time users. So people like, bigger households, the 3,000-4,000 square foot houses using a lot, their base rate only goes up $10, but they're getting a reduction in their rates. So definitely a good conversation. We do keep inching it along. I think we're going to get somewhere on it. It's just, you don't want to make a decision on it and adversely affect possibly some of your smaller households, people who maybe don't live here all the time, and they're paying that big base rate and not really using any of it. So just a lot of conversation around that, and we're going to keep the conversation going. The other agenda item that we discussed was the 2023 Electric Fund Reserve Forecast. We discussed the Electric Reserve Fund forecast for 2023, a better way to show all the available funds, whether in cash or invested in the CDs. This is the last council meeting that we discussed. Ben is going to provide additional information for clarity. The committee agreed it would be helpful if the council authorized staff to explore lease options for the new generators to fund the installation specifically. And the new electric utility truck that was in the 23 budget was for $220-some thousand, I think, is, if I remember right. So possibly exploring lease options for those to see if the reserve is a little bit more healthy as a result. This information will be used to determine whether we need to lease or use the reserve and budgeted funds as planned to stay within our reserve fund policy for 2023. The committee would like the council to support an electric rate study as a part of the electric bill reformat and reserve fund analysis. So discussion around that.
Why do you want to change anything?
As far
What's
as,
wrong with what we have?
well, remember the conversation, this is, I think, primarily around the school district, right? This is where we kind of, the impacts.
Well, we've
that's
been
in the-
talking about this for a couple of years now.
That, yeah.
because Of all the different rates we have, plus the intent, Jerry, when we started this, I think it was 2 years ago.
It was.
was to make our bills more transparent, because right now we take a lot out of the rates, don't take, I mean, the base rate doesn't even cover the bonds. And as you know, rural water districts, they cover their bond or their loans from their customers' base rates. So you know that whatever your base is, that's helping pay for loans taken out for that rural water district. That was kind of the same scenario on this is, hey, let's look at lowering the rates down, increasing the, I call it the meter fee, they call it the bond fee, but the meter fee up to where it covers your bond payments. So that way, our citizens know, hey, you can point to your bill and say, the meter fee is what pays for your bond payments. The rates cover your overhead and your employee staffing, similar to what a rural water district does.
Was your question about the rate ordinance, or was it about the electric fund reserve?
There's 12 different deals, as I understand, by looking at the sheets.
Correct.
There's 12 different ways that things are paid.
Yeah,
And
Rob
I've
came in and
gone
talked to us
over-
about
and I've
that.
gone over those 12. And I don't see anything wrong with any of that stuff. Now, it appears like that you've got nonprofit groups here, like schools and churches and the library and such as that, that doesn't pay taxes, that actually pays a little more fee for their electricity than the actual resident does. If you do what you're gonna do, aren't you changing the cost, and it's gonna be on the seniors? And we always worry about the seniors. It looks to me like that the seniors living in the community is gonna be the one that puts the bill.
So, I'm gonna take that into a few parts here. So, what I'm trying to do is this is an open discussion. I'm not trying to do anything. The budget committee's not trying to do anything. We're trying to keep this discussion
I
open.
understand that,
So,
but what I'm trying to do is get
so my point that I made earlier about the adverse effect on certain households, right? So how that meter fee increase and that rate decrease, that slight rate decrease, could possibly, we need to have more information on it, could adversely affect, maybe senior citizens, smaller homes, people, snowbirds, people who stay in Kansas for only part time of the year. I mean, those are the people, we need to see specific numbers on how that would work out. There's a lot of different ways to do this, and that's the conversation that's going to continue.
Are you aware that approximately every 5th house to every 7th house in this town is a senior citizen?
Yes, I think that seems about right.
And Jerry, we're not, what Corey is saying out of the budget committee is not saying this is what's going to be presented to council. This is what they talked about. But there's way more discussion that has to go on because we're trying to
Because we're
figure.
considering that.
Yeah, we're trying to figure out how does this have less impact. And to go back to the rates.
It's not gonna have less impact. If you start charging more money for the meters, you're raising the cost.
Not if you lower the rates by the same amount.
Then why not leave the rates where they're at and leave the meters alone?
That's on the
Then
table.
you're doing what you're doing right now. And
Yeah,
that's-
The status quo,
fine,
the
but
status
it's
quo is
not-
on the table.
There's nothing there broke to be changing.
Well,
That's
there is, though.
argumentative. I mean,
So right now, your meter fee only accounts for 50% of what we actually bond. And that's what the meter fee's for. It's supposed to be your debt. That's a line item for
I
all the
understand
debt
it.
in
It's
our,
like he said in the
your
water
capital
district, and I
projects.
understand how that works. But you've already got everything established.
So, but you said if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I'm telling you, it is kind of broken because we're not representing the total debt for capital projects in that line item. So in the endeavor to be transparent, we're falling short and we're trying to remedy that while also not adversely affecting certain populations.
Okay, I'm sure that when you get through with this and you present it to the council, you will have a form made out as to how this is gonna work. Would that be correct?
Yeah.
Because I wanna see how you're doing this in writing.
That's
Well, that's the whole point
transparent.
of
That's
the
what,
rate
yeah.
study and doing all that stuff too. And looking at the 12 different rates. I mean, I guess I'd argue that 12 different rates is a lot for a community our size. I mean, we have a special rate for fraternities and sororities.
Yes, but also, they don't pay any property tax.
Fraternities and sororities?
No, the college does not pay property tax.
College doesn't, but fraternities and sororities.
Anything that's owned by the college does not.
They're not
pay
owned
They're
property
not
tax.
owned by the college.
Anything that's owned by the city doesn't pay property tax,
Right.
except I think, depends the the old police station is leased, I think it has to have property taxes on it because it is leased. Is that right, Glenn?
Correct, because the use change.
Yeah, they eventually, well, I don't think they've done that yet.
Your
but
churches, your
County
churches
assessor
don't
determines
pay
that.
property tax.
Right.
The library doesn't pay property tax.
Correct.
Your schools don't pay property tax,
All under the same, yes, nonprofits.
you know? Anything that's associated with the college, any houses they own that's got.
Not associated with the college. Depends on
Anything
who
that's
owns it.
associated with the college or owned by the college does not pay property tax.
Owned by the college, not associated. I
Owned
can't build
by
an
the
apartment
college.
complex and say, I rent to all students, I'm associated with the college, therefore I'm.
The president's house does not pay taxes.
That's owned by the college.
That's owned by, yeah, that's their
And there's
property.
other houses are not, or they're not, that's owned by the college that doesn't pay
I
taxes.
think the dorms, the other housing, but not houses, that I'm aware of.
I think there's,
The only sorority that would be owned by the college is the old Phi Mu House. It's no longer a sorority, it's now the Alumni Center. So, yeah, if you're a fraternity or sorority,
But
they
I
have,
don't know,
they have their
soror-
own
the
national
sorority
chapters.
or fraternities might be considered nonprofit. I'd have to look at the property tax rules and see.
I think they are.
Maybe.
nonprofit. But anyway, they don't present or give money to the community. So therefore, they pay a little higher cost. And what you just explained to me is that you're gonna cut that down and they're not gonna have to do that anymore.
I'm not doing anything.
I know,
It's an open
I
discussion.
understand that nothing's been.
I'm not
done.
suggesting anything. This isn't a suggestion. This is just tell you what we talked about last week. That's it.
But
It's,
the conversation needs to continue.
yes, yes.
So that you guys can take.
Yeah, we
our
need guidance,
feelings
yeah,
and-
please
Right.
give guidance, yeah, and
Right.
I'm hearing you saying that, make darn sure that you don't adversely affect certain populations. I agree, that's why I'm,
That's why, we're, yeah, talking to
Yeah.
them. We don't want to affect the seniors, the low income, none of that. We don't want to affect businesses. We don't want to affect really anybody besides. Essentially, this started from trying to make our utility bills more transparent so that when citizens say, we pay high utilities, we can point to their bill and say, well, this portion is for bond, this portion is for overhead.
It sounds to me like they've got more work to do this than they did with Manhattan Project.
It is,
It's
it
been
is a
while.
lot more complicated than I thought it was going to be, I think everybody on the budget committee can agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do not envy you and Scott at all.
Well, it's, I think it's a solvable problem,
It's-
I really do, I think there's an answer there that you can attain more transparency in your utility bills and.
How did you come to do this? How did this develop that you was gonna do it this way?
It really, if I remember right, and correct me if I'm wrong, Glenn or Casey, but I think it came from trying to define what each line item actually was. So your franchise fee, okay, so that's, you're maintaining your easements, your alleyways, there's a fee that comes with that if you're a utility company. Well, we own our own utility, and it's sort of the fees that come with that. Okay, break it down, so then you have your meter fee. Well, what the heck's a meter fee? And then finding out, okay, well, the meter fee is typically where your debt is. So for capital projects, that's where all your debt goes, the money that you bond there's really nothing else that would be in there besides money that you're bonding for projects. So, okay, well, if that's what that traditionally is, it was the confusion on the utility bill that we wanted to remedy. And it was, and that meter fee was the one kind of sticking point, because it's changed in the past based on need, and it's wanting to separate that and not make it sort of having any kind of relationship with utility rates. We want rates to be completely independent from the debt.
And we did it with water.
Right.
When we changed up the water stuff, we changed our meter fees to correlate with our bond rate. So trying to just make consistency across all of
So the idea also is, so here's the other side of that. So if the meter fee were to go up, and this is just one of the talking points if you were to make this argument, which I'm not. So if your meter fee were to go up, in this scenario that we talked about last week, which is just a discussion, it doubled in that scenario. Okay, so your meter fee is $20 a month and your rates do drop, okay? Subtly, a penny per kilowatt hour. When your capital projects, when that bond retires and that debt retires, your meter fee would drop back down. So if half your debt retires from a big project like, say, the substation or what have you, but I think it's probably going to be the public works building, your meter rate drops by $10. Whereas right now, that can't happen because everything's based on usage, and it's tied into that relationship with rates that it's.
But you're always gonna have debt. It's not, one project might fall off, but you're
Right.
still gonna have other debt in there, so you're never gonna be.
it. But maybe not as high.
Maybe not as high, and maybe not,
Maybe.
and there might be a 5, 6, 7 year in between capital projects that you're like, why am I paying this double base rate? I don't need to.
There's another thing that falls in here that concerns me just a tad. and I don't know if this is gonna apply or not.
Let's hear it, this is
But
why
I'm
we're
gonna
here.
say it.
Yeah,
We are setting at a 3 rate right now.
say that one more time.
We are setting at a 3 rate right now. Our finance man has said that we have spent enough money that we have a 3 rate. Is that correct?
What's a 3 rate?
You mean at
For
double A? We
for
got,
if you get bonds and stuff.
Oh, a bond
Your
rate.
interest rate goes up. Your bond
That has to do with the reserve balance of the general
your bond
fund.
rate goes up. But if you get it lower, you fool around and you bid it down and you get it lower and we drop down to a 4 and we go after a bond, our interest rate on a bond is gonna go up again.
So the bond rating in this last scenario had only to do with the reserve in the general fund. That doesn't have anything to do with this.
But we got more bonds coming up. We gotta do something to build the electric place out there.
and we're looking at that also, Jerry, to parlay off of Corey, is because the way it's scheduled and when that bond's gonna hit, we're gonna have a lot of debt dropping off at that time. So to Julie's point, correct, our debt is gonna change over the time, but if our projections are right, it should drop fairly substantially because we got the
GRDA, yeah.
dropping off, we got the Public Works building dropping off here in the next few years.
Now, isn't that wonderful? We get to save money.
That's the idea. That's the idea. It makes it easier, to pull, it gives us more levers to pull to save
If you
citizens
don't
money.
fool around and spend it someplace else, we can get ahead of this game.
And that's the intent of, that goes back to the meter fee thing, because then, now you can point, right now, you can't really point to the rate and say, well, we can drop the rate to this, because it's a variable. The meter fee's a fix, so if we drop the rate now to where we're not bringing in any more money, it's in our customers, and we offset it in the meter fee to really truly represent that, now when that bond payment goes down, now we can bring that down, because we have a lever to pull there. Right now, we have no levers to reduce people's monthly bills from bonding.
I'm afraid what's gonna wind up is that we're gonna get these items paid for, and we're gonna have this excess of money that all of a sudden we can start saving. And somewhere along the line, this is gonna fool around, and that money's not gonna be able to stay because we're gonna use it for something else. Or it's not gonna be there.
You're speaking about the reserve?
Yeah. You know, I don't know how to say what I'm thinking.
Well, you're right in that the reserve policy is tied to the second point that I read, the second agenda item. That, yeah, and that's the conversation that's still ongoing as well, is what does that percentage need to be? You know,
And what percentage have you figured, when the bonds are paid off and the other stuff's paid off, how much money we're gonna have then? How much is gonna flow in?
so there shouldn't be any more flowing in
Why?
if your debt, so from that line, from the bond fee.
He's saying if we don't mess with anything, our bond payments go down.
If your bond
Right.
payments go down, we quit spending $2,000 a month to build, or on the building down there, or whatever it may be. And all of a sudden, that's paid off. We've got $2,000 a month, right there, it's ours.
But it's not ours, it's the citizens, so that's why we're trying to.
Agreed, it is the citizens, it belongs to the people in the community.
So if our reserve,
And we're supposed
Fund
to be,
balance is met.
and we're supposed to be caretakers of it.
correct, so that's what we're getting at. If our reserve fund balance is met for the electric fund, why can't we reduce the rates for all of our citizens?
The current system keeps us from doing that.
Right.
I apologize to you if I've offended you.
No, you're asking questions, and that's what we're,
Yeah.
that's why we're here. We don't do committee updates just as,
We'll
yeah,
end-
you guys are doing a great job. Like, no,
We will end the conversation and wait for you to come back with more. And I'm sure that
There's a lot more.
I'm gonna have more questions.
please do. That's what it's all about. And it is a tough conversation. It's way more complicated than I thought it was going to be.
But at the point from what I've seen, I can't see that anything's broke that needs to be screwed with.
Minus the point about your bills being transparent on
Yeah.
where everything's going. That is a problem. That is a
Yeah.
problem. And that was the first thing that the council, with me, Julie, and Scott, and Susan, and Brian, when we all, this is almost 4 years ago now, 3 years ago, transparency and improving transparency was the big goal. And we all sat down that first time and had that work session, and we're still continuing with the spirit of that.
Transparency
Right,
is
and
also,
I agreed with that at the time, because it made sense. because you were explaining what the bill was saying.
Right,
And what it was saying, right?
right.
When they both came out the same.
And
They-
that's what
the
we're still
bills-
trying to do.
Right.
Yeah, they still have to equal the same,
Okay.
yeah,
But this is so confusing, the
right.
way you guys are thinking about doing this, that I think you're having a hard time explaining it to us. I'm not sure that the people will understand it. And if you're trying to make it simpler for them,
Mhm.
you're not.
Well, I'm not gonna fall over and give up on it just because it's not explainable now, when it might be we might be in the middle of a complicated process to getting to that simple
Okay,
answer.
well, I can understand that.
And I think that's where we're at, I really do.
I think we're in the middle of trying
I
to.
think we're in the middle of a really, like,
I
Convoluted,
think,
we
I
haven't-
think the bond thing is really confusing, you know?
yeah,
We're bonding this much and then this falls off but, you know, I still go back to, you're never gonna be without debt.
you are,
We,
you
we,
are.
Well, yeah, but it
We
is
made
gonna
it.
fluctuate, and it would be not, I mean, it's a level of transparency we've never been able to give the citizens before. So I like where you guys are starting. I do worry about it affecting the citizens that
That's-
we do not want to
That's
impact.
the number one
Right.
theme
And-
throughout the whole conversation,
Right.
and that is the spirit driving the entire thing, is that we
and the-
absolutely don't want to
We
adversely
don't want that
affect
to
anybody.
affect any
Right.
of us.
Right.
But at the
But
same
the-
time, if, you know, if our debt drops and everybody's, you know, that line item drops, then that's
under,
gonna positively.
under the
affect
debt
everybody.
drop, we proposed to the school district for $360,000.
That's where I thought you were
We've
going.
got a $251,000 truck to pay for it that just came in. We've got approximately $100 to pay for a police car that just came in. And so our money's going down. Are we gonna fall down into another point on our loan bracket?
Well, you're commingling two things. I mean, the police car doesn't come out of the same fund.
Wait a minute, all the money belongs to the city.
It does, but it
make
doesn't
any
come out of the
difference
same
what
fund.
fund
It comes out of
You're-
different places.
You're talking about other
The police car comes
funds.
out of the general fund.
But it's still money that gets credited for when we get ready to make a loan.
Only in that specific fund. You can't commingle the funds.
Right.
So you tell me that if you're gonna get a bond, you can get a bond through the funds for the police department, and the rest of it doesn't count?
Yeah,
That is.
that is exactly
Exactly.
right. You can ask Glenn on that. You get a fund for
I
the
ain't gonna
electric
ask him
department.
because
I'm trying to follow what you guys are doing.
Don't drag Glenn into this.
Bottom line is, what we want to do is actually have Baker Tilly do kind of a rate analysis for where we're at. We have a lot of moving parts, as you've already explained here, with bonds going this way, that way. We also have a lot of costs coming your way. So what they need to do, and what they're paid to do, and these guys are professionals, will analyze where your rates are and what would be appropriate for what we know is coming. I'm always afraid of what we don't know, and that's another discussion to have, is what we know and what we don't know. That could affect, our electric rates or whatever, but I think you're on the right track as far as transparency and whatever, and we can talk all night about how bonds are structured and what goes into the ratings and whatever, but I don't know if you want to be here for the next 3 hours discussing that. I don't think everybody shares my
I give
enthusiasm
up
for
on
that, so yeah, take a pass on that, but that's a discussion for another day.
And I'll be back.
Yeah, right, yeah. Because
We'll
we'll
bore 'em out.
Yeah, because we'll have that discussion, we'll have, we're just talking about tonight with the substation, whatever, and Jerry was referencing the new car, and then we have the engines and whatever else. So
I'm not
those
blaming-
are all more debt instruments that you'll be talking about
Right.
here in the next couple of months as we go through all that, so.
I'm not blaming the fact that we bought a new car. We bought the stuff that we needed to buy.
Correct,
That's
yeah.
stuff that you need to take into consideration as
Right.
to get involved.
So, and because their cash has gone down, as you've noticed, we talked about the last one, so we're actually accumulating more debt because we have to on that. So, I'm not gonna hold out a lot of hope that you'll ever see some dramatic decline in your debt service. I don't know when that year is gonna be, but again, that's why you need a rate study, you need the professionals to kind of, project all that out for the next 10, 20, 30 years, which you have to do in the electric industry. These are all long-term contracts and long-term debt, we're taking on 20 years of debt and whatever, so But we do have the power plant debt coming off here in 3 years. But like I said, we do have other debt coming at us, so will it balance out? Will it be less, will it be more? I don't know yet. What will interest rates be next year or this year? I don't know. But we can pay people to figure this out for us. So I wouldn't get too excited one way or the other about what this is gonna happen or whatever, because I don't think we have enough information to make that decision yet.
And we move on to community development.
If you're done.
Yeah,
You're running this one.
it might be shorter, I don't know.
If you're pointing fingers, there's 3 pointing back at you, Jerry.
Yeah.
Move on to community development.
Okay, well, this one's gonna be a little longer. No, I'm just kidding. We didn't meet.
And we're gonna put you out in the street, and you can
Next
stop,
meeting.
stop calling us red in the face.
Next meeting is the 27th, 4 o'clock, second floor, City Hall.
Was the budget and finance, is that gonna be on the 17th,
That is gonna be next Friday.
It got, yeah,
a week from Friday?
A week from this Friday.
yes.
7:45, second floor, City Hall. Public safety, Susan.
We have not met since last meeting. We meet next on February 14th at 4 o'clock.
Public Works, Julie.
We have not met since last time either. We do have a meeting this Thursday at 9 o'clock.
But you said we had one, What's
February
it?
14th.
And strategic plan.
oh, before time.
Strategic plan, we did meet, I wasn't prepared for this. We talked about getting some help with doing some surveys for the community and talking to the department heads to get more information about, you know, what they're needing and that kind of thing. So I did talk, well, I didn't talk, I got in touch with Kevin McCarthy, who helped Main Street with the survey that him and the Baker students did, and asked him if he would be willing to come and take a look and see if he can help us figure out what to do as far as wording the survey or what we need to ask and that kind of thing, and he said he'd be happy to help. So we're gonna meet next week and talk about that.
So I have just one question. Where do you think the committee is at on getting a final document, since we're kind of moving on to the scientific side of it, trying to gauge all the areas that, where do you, to getting a final document put together where we can actually pass it and publish it? I know we're gonna change it, we're gonna be talking about it all the time.
I don't think we're there yet.
Okay.
We don't have a meeting scheduled yet.
That qualitative piece is gonna be huge for the surveying portion. It's just,
It's,
I wish there was a way that an actual 400 level course at Baker could center around that. I had one when I was there. I don't know if they still do research methods the same and surveying and all that, but it was, we were just looking, we were doing surveys on things that didn't really matter, and this one really matters, and I feel like there'd be maybe a solution there. And at the work session with the school district, Tony Brown kind of piped up and mentioned,
Yeah.
and I was hoping that conversation would take off with him. I don't know, maybe we need to talk to them a little bit more, because that's a real opportunity there.
yeah, well, I'm hoping that Kevin will be able to help us, and maybe he
Yeah.
even knows somebody at Baker that can help us even further.
Yeah, we did it as under the political science department, which
It's Tony's, isn't it?
no, he's psychology.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
If you need help too, I can get you in touch with Dr. Murray, and
yeah,
she can help
okay.
guide us.
I'll know more after I talk with him next week.
City administrator staff comments? Anything more?
I was gonna talk about electric rates or something like that, but I don't know, we can talk about that a little more, I think. No, I don't have anything further, so.
Jerry, no.
All right, well, before Jerry speaks, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I got
Is
something.
there a second?
You want to be careful. You gotta walk
Move to
on
second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Jerry's at
Wow,
aye.
nice threats right there, man. You got-
Aye. Motion passes, we're adjourned. She moved.
I wasn't serious, Jerry.
I know that.
Not serious.